What's up, guys? I'm making this video because it's the hashtag Walkaway movement that I've been participating in. I was in it on Twitter, but apparently the mainstream media has been discrediting it and saying it's a Russian bot thing and there's no merit to it at all. Like, there's absolutely nobody leaving the Democratic Party, which who in their right mind could believe that? Anyway, I'm glad that it's on YouTube now because it's kind of hard to discredit and say it's Russian bots when there's a face and a voice that goes with it. So I want to talk to you guys about when I actually walked away, which I feel like is probably the same thing as red pill moment, right? That's probably the same thing. But anyway, so when I walked away from the Democratic Party, actually, let me rewind a little bit more, because I was never actually a Democrat. I was never a Democrat. I was always a moderate. Same with my parents. They're both moderate. You know, I just kind of grew up in that household, believed in hard work, personal responsibility, never took handouts. Nothing was ever handed to me. I've always, worked for everything I've had. So off top, I already feel like I couldn't be a Democrat just because I knew that they were the party of like welfare and handouts and their care about the poor, which it's not like I don't care about the poor, but it's also like you don't work, you don't eat, right? So that's always been my stance on it. But I would say the moment that I decided to walk away was after the election of Donald Trump. Now, I voted for Obama. I voted for him twice. I'm not gonna lie, I voted for the first black president as a black man in my first time voting. I'm not gonna not vote for the first black president. I mean, it's an easy decision. His second term, however, I felt like I paid more attention to what he was doing and like what he said if he had kept his promises from his first term, but I still gave him the nod over Mitt Romney because I had been told my whole life that Republicans are racist. They don't like black people and they only care about rich people. And I was black and not rich, so again, no brainer, vote for Obama. So I voted for Obama again. And then when the 2016 election came around, that's when I really was kind of forced to look at politics, because at that point, I'm done with college, I'm out in the real world, I'm working, so I'm thinking like, all right, how does a Republican in office affect my life personally? And I knew that Hillary Clinton was corrupt, and I just didn't side with either candidate. And where I was living at the time, a super blue city, Minneapolis, very democratic, extremely progressive. I had never lived in a city like that. I lived in a place where people didn't really get into politics and all that. But Minneapolis was extremely Hillary Clinton, very far left, and that's where I encountered like social justice warriors, and free speech was kind of shunned up there. It was kind of free speech on crutches up there. They really didn't want you speaking freely, I guess. And there were things that were already kind of had me pulling away from the Democratic Party. Even though I voted Democrat, I never considered myself a Democrat. I just kind of allowed myself to be indoctrinated by some of that ideology and rhetoric. But after Donald Trump won, everyone was kind of losing their minds. It was like Chicken Little. The sky is falling. Oh my God, everything's falling apart. America's over. We're going to be at war with North Korea. You're going back to Africa. They're going to ship everyone out of the country. I just kind of like realized, man, there's more emotion than there is logic with the left. There's really not a lot of logic. There's not a lot of critical thinking. There's not a lot of just common sense. And I found myself gravitating further and further away from the left. So at this point, I feel like I was walking away from the left slowly, but still looking at the left like, all right, maybe things will normalize after that, initial shock sets in, after it's done, after the initial shock is passed. People will get on with their life because, it's one president. How much impact could one president have on millions and millions of people? Well, to my surprise, apparently a lot, because they have been in Trump derangement syndrome going on 2 years now. Like, they haven't stopped. It's been radical social justice movement after radical social justice movement. I saw a lot of things with the left that I just did not align with at all. And the more that I learned about Donald Trump, the more I saw like the media's been lying about him. And they've been lying to me about who I am and what my worldview should be. I really used to think CNN was a trusted news source. I really actually thought that they were centrist and that they didn't craft narratives and that they didn't try to indoctrinate anyone. Come to find out, that's exactly what they were doing. They were telling me a lot of things like, you know, it's open season on black men and I should watch my back. But nothing about my life ever made me believe that I was a victim, or that, you know, I couldn't support Democrats, yet they were, or Republicans, yet they were telling me I couldn't support Republicans. You know, I saw that how many times they lied on Donald Trump. They lied about how many people were at his inauguration. They lied about him pouring like fish food into the koi pond when he went over to, I think it was Japan. You know, I saw a lot of petty actions coming from the mainstream media, Hollywood, you know, Democrats, friends on Facebook and social media. I just saw a lot of things that made me realize how radical the left truly was. And so I had fully walked away. And the more that I learned about Donald Trump and started seeing some of the success of his presidency, and I saw they wouldn't even give him credit for some of the stuff that he was doing. So, you know, I found myself not only walking away from the left, but like outright rebelling from the left. So, you know, now that I see the light and I see everything clearly, I feel it's like my duty to kind of bring others to that light, because there's a lot of people that are still buying into that propaganda, all the hyperbolic rhetoric that's used day in and day out, all the lies that they're spreading, how they're conflating arguments, how they are basically painting every Donald Trump supporter with a broad brush. You know, anytime there's a pro-Trump rally, they're saying it's a white supremacist rally. You know, they're saying anyone that wears the American flag or flies the American flag or wears a Make America Great Again hat on, which I have, they're basically saying that that's racist and that those people are Nazis. Well, I feel like it's my duty to shatter that narrative, to shatter the narrative that minorities can't support Donald Trump and all Republicans are racist. You know, I live in Florida now. I don't live in Minnesota. I live in a pro-Trump, proud American, patriotic Republican state. And the more that I'm around Republicans and white people and people that vote for Donald Trump, the more I see that the media has duped me. They have bamboozled me. They have bamboozled so many other people to believe that we shouldn't support this president because he's full of racism. And I'm like looking at it very objectively. You know, I'm looking at CNN's argument. I'm looking at Fox News argument. I've also found YouTube. You know, obviously I have my own channel now, but I started out after his election going for independent media sources, you know, instead of the mainstream media. After I found out the mainstream media was a business, I looked into stuff for myself, and I decided I'm gonna, you know, think for myself and be clear-minded when I approach things. And it's honestly been the greatest thing ever. So I can proudly say that I've walked away from the left, and no, for anybody that's going to troll in the comment section, it's not about running away from the left and going to the right. I stand independent. I am an independent thinker. If you have to label me as something, label me libertarian, because I am all about personal responsibility, individual liberty, non-aggressive principle. I believe in the Constitution, and I love America. I'm proud, I'm patriotic, and I love the president. I love everything that he's doing. You know, I'll hold him accountable if he does something I don't like, but I'm also going to give him credit when he does something right. And that's something that we're not seeing on the left. They've just gone so far into their Trump derangement syndrome that it seems like we're past the point of no return. So by default, I guess I'm with the other side, you know. But more importantly than that, walking away from the left was the greatest decision I've made in my life. One of the greatest decisions I made in my life, because for once, I'm thinking for myself. I see myself as an independent, you know, someone who makes decisions for themselves, someone that's not going to be indoctrinated by some narrative. And that's my story, guys. So I never really was on the left. I just decided I don't belong there, and walking away from them was pretty easy because they were going in the opposite direction from the beginning. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. Like, share, subscribe. Let me know what your walk away movement is, or your walk away moment was, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.